Is the shirt too much? Or is it just enough? I can't help myself, okay? I found this shirt in a thrift store. It is a young child's horse hobby shirt, so I imagine that some horse riding teenager, let's say, is missing their favorite shirt, and now a grown woman on the internet is wearing it proudly. Anyway, this is a little bit of a strange and, dare I say, weird shirt, so I feel like it's incredibly fitting for the video that we have at hand. Weird books, love them or hate them, they are a thing, and I personally revel in them. For a little while in my life, I was actively seeking out weird books all the time. Now I've kind of paused a little bit, pumped the brakes. Now, let's not confuse a weird book with a deranged, depraved, and disgusting book. I have a whole video on books that already summarize that category, but today we're going to be focusing on books that just kind of are a little bit offbeat, a little quirky. Books that make you feel like you're in your own world, filled with fairies and odd colors and things that feel like they shouldn't make sense, but somehow they do. So let's get into it. First book is a book that I don't really see many people talking about, though I do think it was one of the better books that was written last year. I believe that it was written in 2023, and that is The Glutton by A.K. Blakemore. This is right on the edge of being disgusting, disturbing, depraved, and a little deranged, but I think the thing that saves it and makes it just weird is the whole idea of what the story is. This book follows the true individual, Tarare, who was an 18th century French, for lack of a better word, glutton. He had this uncanny ability to be able to consume basically anything that was put in front of him. He became kind of a traveling act, more of a gawking figure for people in 18th century France to look at. This is a fictional take on his life and kind of his upbringing, how he became what he was, and it was really phenomenal writing. For me, this book was a standout, and it encapsulates weird because the author, Blakemore, really just dives into creating these picturesque landscapes of what this individual was like. This was a standout because Blakemore was able to take and put in these disgusting, kind of titillating moments, but then reeling it back in and tell a great story. I really thought that this was great. This is a weird book. This is a really, really weird book. I read this during jury duty, and I was right in the front row, and every time that I'd flip a page, there'd be something strange that would pop out, and I would hope that my fellow jurors, my fellow citizens of America wouldn't think me to be too odd for what I was reading. The second book that I want to talk about, and basically the reason that this video came to life, is Wetlands by Charlotte Roche. She is a German, so I am absolutely doing that incorrectly, and I should have looked it up. I apologize. This is definitely, again, teetering on the idea of gross. The reason that I don't put this into a disturbing category is because at the end of the day, the character that is being highlighted here is just weird. And she has this hole in her heart that she's trying to fix, and she's trying to do all of these outlandish things just because she's a little strange, and that's the only way that she knows how to nurture a broken heart. So this follows a young girl who goes to the extremes in everything, goes to the extremes in hygiene, goes to the extremes in pushing the envelope in basically any way that you can imagine. She is shaving herself one day, and she cuts her butt. She cuts her butt. And she ends up in the hospital. She has to undergo emergency surgery to deal with the liquid buildup and some drainage. And through that, she is telling about her escapades in life, and you come to find out why she is the way she is, why she is rebelling in these ways. This is a weird, weird, weird book. I wanted to read this book for years, ever since I saw the movie. I made a whole video about books that I don't see people talking about often, and spoiler alert, for my Patreon book club, we're reading one of those books. So if you want to know what it is, definitely check that out. We have a lot of fun. over there. This book I was so excited to get my hands on. I finally got it from the library. I actually have to return it today, okay? Because I'm about to have it for too long. This I wouldn't say is like an amazing book by any means. I think that there were moments in here that really shocked me almost too much. And I think the reason that this was a bestseller was because it was so shocking, almost deliberately so. Didn't love this as much as I thought that I was going to love it, but I gotta say it's weird. Let's keep going. The next group of books that I want to talk about are weird writers. Obviously, I have talked about Melissa Broder. We've had Otessa Moshfegh on this channel. We have a hairball of some sorts in my throat. We've talked about Chuck Palahniuk, Bret Easton Ellis, a slew of authors that have made their print available for all of us weirdos to enjoy. But I feel like there's one author that I don't really see in the mashup of weird author category often, and I think it's an author that really is deserving of it, and they just have a new book that was released. I haven't read it yet, but let's talk about some of the oldies. Miranda July. What I've read from July is the first Bad Man and July's collection of short stories, which is No One Belongs Here More Than You. Both of these writings deal with people on the fringes of society, people who are a little bit odd naturally, but then July just takes their story and spins it in a completely strange direction. And it's not even like it's such a gratuitous thing. It's not doing it just to be a weird novel. It oddly feels like it's fitting into every storyline that's being told. First Bad Man is obviously more of a linear story dealing with a little bit of weirder characters, and then No One Belongs Here More Than You is a collection of short stories that every single story starts kind of normal and then just burp, goes a little bit odd. July, in addition to being a writer, is also a director and is originally from Vermont, which I'm not from Vermont exactly, but I'm from a town very close to Vermont, so I think that explains a lot. One weirdo can see another weirdo. Anyway, July just also had a book come out recently. I haven't read it yet, but it's been widely applauded, and I'm sure it's great. Second author that I want to talk about, and this is more of like just weird experiences in the writing, at least from what I've written of this author, and that's Tao Lin. I'm not a massive Tao Lin fan, but I've read Richard Yates, and I've also read Taipei. Taipei was much more of like a drug-fueled experience, much more of like a hallucination, rampant, urgent novel where Lin is basically telling a fictionalized version of his life in New York City and traveling and using drugs to fuel that. Just a perpetual bender. Richard Yates is much more about, I believe, like an online relationship. The reason that I put Tao Lin onto this list, the atmosphere that his books put you into make you feel like lurking in on the mind of someone who is pretty genuinely weird. And again, he's not my favorite author of all time, but I always have a strange, weird experience when I read his books, and I think that's worthy of being on the list. So, weird. There you go. You know what doesn't have to be weird though? The way that you smell. I am so happy that I am partnering with Scentbird. If you don't know what Scentbird is, it is a subscription-based perfume company that allows you to kind of pick and choose perfumes in more of smaller sizes, so you're able to test them out and see what works best for you. If you watched my apartment tour video, you know that I'm a big DS and Durga head. I am kind of obsessed with maybe testing out every single one of their perfumes, so I was elated to see that they have I Don't Know What by them available in their collection. I Don't Know What has top notes of bergamot essence, ISO E-Super, vetiver acetate, furstanol, and ambrox super. This is a scent that clings to me. I was wearing it last night when I was out at a luxurious dinner, and I was able to go to bed and I could still smell it on my hair and on my chest. Second perfume that I got is Juliet Has a Gun, not a perfume. So what's interesting about this is that the only note, the only top note in this is Cetilox. What makes Not a Perfume so interesting is that it is a subtle one-note wonder perfume made from musky, sheer, and sensual Cetilox. Your skin will smell uber clean and forever fresh with a warm and intimate glow. Which is right. I do smell intimately clean and beautiful. What I love about Scentbird is it's not like a typical kind of travel size. You do get a 30-day supply of perfume, so it gives you more than enough time to test it out, see if you love it, or you can continually keep on refreshing and seeing how flexible and diverse their selection is. They have luxury brands like Prada and Gucci, and then of course they do have more boutique brands like the ones that I have chosen. The packaging is small, easy to carry, you can literally put it anywhere. I always need a touch up. I can put it in every single bag, pocket, or place that I need to carry it. So if you're interested in Scentbird, you can scan the QR code on the screen or use my code down below to get 55% off your first purchase. You also get free delivery to your door and a free case. You will get your first bottle for $8. That's a steal. Anyway, thank you again so much to Scentbird for sponsoring today's video. Let me know what scent you would choose. Get the weird ones, baby. Let's rock it. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about some classics. There's a lot of classics that are weird, that are groundbreaking for the time, but for me, there's two that absolutely jump out and say, hey, I'm weird. The Master and Margarita by Bulgakov. I feel like it's not strange for me to say that this is a weird book. This is absolutely a strange adventure that you're on. This is dealing with the devil. It's making commentary about totalitarianism at the time. It's using the vessel of cats and just strange anecdotal sort of stories to convey this absolutely bonkers world that Bulgakov crafts. It's a animated classic. It's a classic that you kind of have to break apart and address in different ways. You have to almost kind of like unhinge your mind and make sure that you're getting everything out of it. I read it a little while ago. I read it actually probably like the first, I don't know, year or so that I was in New York City. I definitely need to go back to it. I gave my copy away to a friend of mine. It got destroyed by rain, so it's swollen. At least when she showed it to me, it was swollen, and I feel like that's right. I feel like that's right for this one. I feel like that one needs to have a little bit of a look to it. I also had the chance to visit Bulgakov's, well, one of Bulgakov's houses in Kiev. I had that video up for a little while, but I think I'm gonna have that on my Patreon. Also, if you want to see that, I'm kind of like revisiting old videos that I used to have available. I took a whole tour of his house, and it's so interesting to see like the little nooks and crannies and the way that he was able to have this space. It's so interesting to visit writers' houses and to just see the layout of how they had their, basically their performance space, you know? Absolutely a weird book. And not to be outdone, we also have The Nose by Nikolai Gogol. This book I was introduced to because I was doing an immersive show, which already is kind of a little bit weird. If you have done any sort of immersive shows or seen any immersive shows, they're weird. They're totally weird. And I got with a great company, a great group of people. The writer made this whole immersive show about The Nose. Did a fantastic job. I had an amazing time with a group of people, like so talented, so great. The writing was fantastic, and so I was like, oh, well, I want to read the original short story that accompanies the writing. And it is all about a man that loses his nose, and he's trying to track it down. It's very absurd. It's very strange. I think it's a very approachable classic. It's a very easy to read classic, considering how heightened the absurdity is. You don't get lost in that world. You're basically just following him along with this journey of losing his nose. And why did it happen? What's going on? And I think it's a really funny book. It's written in like 18 something. So to see that people have always had a sense of humor about those things is wild. And Gogol was a wild guy, If you look up any sort of his history, you'll know that he was strange. Dare I say, a weirdo. So let's wrap this up. You know I'm going back on the floor. You know I'm going back on the floor. Okay, I've had enough. No, I haven't. I'm sorry. I'm still having a great time. Anyway, the last two books that I want to talk about are just like some random books that I thought were kind of weird. The first one is Shit Cassandra Saw. The name in itself is weird. I appreciate that. It's a weird cover. It's a bunch of short stories that talk about weird things, weird formats, weird syntax. One of them is in the disguise of Yelp reviews. I think it's like a marriage falling apart through Yelp reviews, which I think is very funny. There's some really touching stories in there as well, much more than I thought. Just weird ways of telling stories. Whoa, that was great, Anna. It wasn't like a favorite book of all time. Actually, I would say my favorite short story in this is about I think it's like sisters or cousins that are traveling through Ireland, and one of them, something bad happens to. It's actually much more of a normal, linear writing, I should say. Basically, every story surrounding that is weird, just weird. And I'm just gonna throw the word weird in one more time to make sure that you get it. Weird. The last book that I want to talk about, and the reason that I'm throwing it on there is because it's probably one of the worst books that I've ever read. And I keep it around, not sure why. And that is on my shelves, Pink by Gus Van Sant. I picked this up at Housing Works in New York City. And this is a first edition, I believe. I can't tell you what this is about. Actually, let's find out. In the town of Sasquatch, Oregon, Spunky Davis, middle-aged maker of infomercials, is trying to find his next assignment, finish the screenplay that he hopes will bring him Hollywood glory, and deal with the death of his friend and favorite infomercial presenter and teen idol, Felix Arroyo. Look at that. That's a weird thing going on. Just drawings in there. I kind of want to reread this. There's a part of me that feels like maybe there is something in this that would be entertaining and fun. I'm holding on to it, and I'm not sure why. Actually, I know why. I love this cover. This is one of my favorite covers of all time. Horrible book, but satisfying looking cover for me. I remember when I used to get my toes done at a pedicure place. I wouldn't like get my toes done. Like I wasn't doing surgery on my toes. I was just getting them painted. I was reading this, and that's the last thing that I remember about this. But this is weird from what I remember. It's also weird that I keep it. I just can't let go. I just can't let go. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making this video. I enjoyed wearing this shirt. Did get my mail in this outfit, and you know that I ran back downstairs before anybody could see me in all of my glory. I'm working up to having the confidence to wear this out, so I figured why not broadcast myself wearing it for a couple thousand people to see. That helps. Thank you for giving me the platform to experiment and wear fun and funky things and be a little bit weird. Let me know what your favorite weird books are. There's so many weird books out there. Again, I have a whole video about disturbing books. These are just kind of the fun weirdo ones. Books that just are being themselves. You guys are wonderful. You're fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you in the next one. Oh, fuck, that was supposed to work so much better.